They say God lives in churches, behind pulpits and pews. But I heard him again, truly heard him, only when I was alone, with my hands in the soil and my heart cracked open. For decades, I sat on wooden benches, in quiet sanctuaries, eyes closed, lips moving in practiced prayers. I was devout. I believed. I did everything right. I memorized verses. I attended every midweek study. I sang the hymns from memory, sometimes without even opening the book. It was my rhythm, my holy routine. But sometime after I turned 60, the silence in church wasn't holy anymore. It felt hollow, like I was speaking into a room where no one answered back. The hymns I once loved felt like rehearsals I'd already done too many times. The sermons felt like echoes of things I already knew. The fellowship, though kind, felt rehearsed. Smiles at the door, small talk over coffee, a hug, a see you next Sunday. And yet, deep inside, I was hungry for something more. I began to wonder if my faith had simply aged out, if maybe I had done all the believing I was meant to do. But what I didn't know was that God was waiting for me in the last place I'd thought to look. When the church no longer spoke to me, I remembered the exact Sunday. The pastor was preaching about grace, a message I'd heard countless times. But that morning, it was as though my ears were covered. The words reached my mind, but not my heart. The stained glass windows glowed with soft gold from the morning sun, but I sat there feeling cold, not on my skin, but somewhere deep in my chest. Around me, people nodded, smiled, hummed along with the final hymn. Hands were lifted, eyes closed, and yet I felt like I was behind glass, watching a faith I could no longer touch. It wasn't anger, it wasn't rebellion, it was disconnection, a quiet, aching distance between me and what once felt like home. I left quietly that day. No one noticed. I didn't know it at the time, but that would be my last Sunday there. Weeks turned into months. I still prayed, but the prayers were short, hesitant, sometimes confused. Lord, where are you? Why can't I feel you? I missed God, but I didn't miss the routine. My heart craved something real, something unfiltered, something I couldn't find in bulletins or announcements. I felt adrift until I started walking in the garden again. Meeting God in the garden. It began on an ordinary Tuesday. No grand plan. No spiritual mission. Just me, a pair of worn gloves, and a garden bed that had been neglected far too long. I knelt to pull a weed, one of those stubborn ones with deep, tangled roots. And in that moment, something shifted. The sunlight warmed my shoulders, not like heat from a bulb, but like the steady comfort of a hand that knows you. The breeze moved through the mint leaves, carrying a fragrance that made me stop and breathe deeper. Bees hummed lazily from flower to flower, and for the first time in months, maybe years, my chest loosened. I wasn't trying to pray. I wasn't trying to feel God, but there he was, in the dirt under my fingernails, in the bird song that fell into the quiet between my thoughts, in the steady rhythm of seasons whispering, "You're still growing, even now." I had left the sanctuary, but I had walked into one far older, far wilder, and far more alive. What the garden taught me about God. Lesson 1. God speaks softly, especially in stillness. In church, there were voices, choirs, readings, announcements, greetings, all good things, but they filled every space. In the garden, there was only the rustle of leaves, the slow rhythm of my own breath, and the sound of a robin tapping at the soil. No amplification, no microphone, no background organ, just stillness. And that stillness didn't feel empty. It felt full of a presence that didn't need to compete with anything. I realized I had been drowning God out with my own noise. In the garden, I gave him space to speak, and he did, without saying a word. Lesson 2, nature doesn't judge, it heals. The rose didn't ask why I hadn't watered it in weeks. The oak tree didn't remind me of my failures. Nature simply took me in as I was weary, unsure, quietly searching. One afternoon, I sat on the grass and let the dirt smudge my skirt. I stayed there for hours, tracing the veins of a leaf with my thumb, and something inside me loosened. The performance was over. I didn't have to present myself to God. I could simply be with him. Lesson 3. Growth is slow and sacred. In my earlier years, I thought spiritual growth meant constant activity, more volunteering, more studying, more serving. But soil has a different story to tell. Seeds sprout unseen in the dark. Roots strengthen quietly before a stem breaks the surface. Nothing rushes, nothing panics, and yet everything becomes what it's meant to be. The garden reminded me that God works in the waiting, and sometimes the holiest thing you can do is let yourself rest. Lesson 4. The divine is everywhere, not just in buildings. We tend to put God on a schedule. Sunday mornings, midweek studies. But out here, I met him on a Tuesday morning as the dew still clung to the petals. I met him in a sudden rain shower that left my hair dripping, but my spirit laughing. I met him in the stubborn dandelion pushing through cracked concrete. God was never confined. I was the one who had put him in a box. Lesson 5. Faith isn't lost. It evolves. At first, I feared my distance from church meant I'd lost my faith. But the truth was simpler and kinder. I had simply outgrown the version I'd been living. Faith, like plants, sometimes needs repotting. The old soil is still good. It nourished you once. But there comes a time when the roots need more room. The God I know now isn't different, but my way of knowing him is. Now I believe it's about intimacy. The God I speak to now is not a far-off ruler. He is the warm breeze that finds me when my heart is heavy. He is the joy in the birds that make me laugh when I'm alone. He is the quiet strength in my aging bones as I kneel to plant seeds. I'm no longer afraid that I've drifted too far, because wherever I walk now, I know he's walking with me. If the church no longer speaks to you, you're not broken. You're just being invited somewhere new. Maybe it's a garden. Maybe it's the quiet of dawn. Maybe it's a journal, a forest, or a porch swing at sunset. God never stopped speaking. We just stopped listening in the right places. Let your soul wander. It might just lead you back to him. If this story touched something in your heart, share it with someone who might be silently searching, just like I was. Leave a comment down. Where did you last feel truly close to God? Your words may become someone else's map. And if you're walking your faith journey a little differently now, welcome. There's room for you here. We're all still growing. 80 years, it feels like just yesterday. When I stood in the small courtyard of my first home, life has shown me so many colors, joy, sorrow, victories, and losses. Every mark on my face tells a story. Now looking back over the years, I've realized one thing. Time always runs, but we can choose to find peace within it. Happiness is a habit, not a reward. Every morning, take a deep breath, say a prayer for your heart, and start your day by giving one person a smile. Because when we reach our final days, what remains are faces, voices, and the little moments of love. And I hope my journey still has a little more to go.